Hi everyone, it's Alan here again from ABTS Training Services in London, England. Today we're going to talk, as you can see on your screen there, about letters of credit. It's a small video, just giving the salient points about a letter of credit. Starting off, when I started off, and I keep saying this on these videos, when I started off hundreds of years ago, but it sounds and seems like that hundreds of years ago. But when I started off in international trade many years ago, I was very fortunate. I had this elderly gentleman at the time who was my mentor. And he was always giving me these little pearls of wisdom and readjusting me on my career path. And one of his little pearls of wisdom was, he would say to me, and I won't try to imitate his accent because he was from Chicago in the USA and he had a wonderful accent, but it came out something like this. He'd say, "God damn it, Alan, a sale is not a sale until you get paid." How true is that? A sale is not a sale until you get paid. Hence, we're talking about letters of credit, a method of payment. We're going to start off by a definition of a letter of credit. This is a short video. We're not going to go into the nitty-gritty of letters of credit, but just an overview for the uninitiated. Okay, a definition of a letter of credit. And when we go through this, we'll go on to why use a letter of credit. But let's start off with the definition. And bearing in mind my mentor's saying, a sale is not a sale until you get paid. Right. The definition of a letter of credit is as follows. It's a conditional, and I stress the word conditional. It's a conditional guarantee that a bank, and I stress the word bank, a bank will pay a sum of money. And they will pay a sum of money within a time frame. So that means a letter of credit is like you and I. It's born and it dies. Except we don't say a letter of credit is born and it dies. We say the opening date and the day it expires. So the opening date, the expiring date. So a letter of credit is in existence for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 8 months. After its expiring date, it goes, it doesn't exist anymore. Okay. So it's a conditional guarantee that a bank will pay a sum of money within a time frame. And they will pay the sum of money, and here comes the big one, against stipulated documents. I repeat that, against stipulated documents. Letters of credit deal in bits of paper. Now, I could put a more intellectual slant on that and bang on about it, but it boils down hardcore facts. That bank will pay the seller, the supplier, when that seller or supplier presents to the bank stipulated documents within the time frame, within the life of the letter of credit. And all of that has to comply with a set of rules. UCP600, the set of rules. So that's what it is. That's the definition of a letter of credit. A conditional guarantee. So you might say, well, tell us all about the condition, Alan. What conditions? The conditions are that you present stipulated documents within the time frame. So it's not a carte blanche. We guarantee we will pay you, Alan. No. We guarantee we will pay you if you perform these tasks within a time frame. If you give us these bits of paper. Now, what do I mean by bits of paper? Possibly, well, definitely an invoice, a packing slip for sea freight, a bill of lading for air freight, an airway bill. And then it can go into, for the product, it could go into phytosanitary certificates, certificates of origin, etc., etc. But they're bits of paper. And that's what it all is around. And I must emphasize this fact. And it tells us in our Book of Rules. Banks do not deal in goods or services, in documents. The bank, the paying bank, couldn't care less. If I was a crook and I was shipping you an empty container, but I got the bills of lading to say 120 for container, said to contain 20,000 widgets. If the bank has a bill of lading and says 20,000 widgets on, they pay. Okay, so it's against documents, not goods or services. That's the definition of a letter of credit. Okay, it kind of goes on to why trade under a letter of credit. Do you remember my mentor? God damn it, Alan, a sale is not a sale until you get paid. Well, you use a letter of credit because you, the seller, is not looking to the buyer to pay. And this is the greatest fear, particularly in international trade where your buyer could be thousands of miles away. And the great fear, one of the great fears is always, will these people pay me? Will they go bankrupt? Will they run out of business? Will they take my goods and do a runner, as we say, with them? You don't care in a letter of credit because they're not paying you. A bank, a solid bank, is going to pay you against stipulated documents, remember. So that's why you use a letter of credit. And I always say to, or I used to say to my students when I used to do a bit of lecturing, I used to say, when it comes to letters of credit, and if I'm the seller and I say to you guys, my students, I want to be paid in a letter of credit, it's kind of a backhanded insult. What I'm kind of saying is, hey, I don't trust you to pay me. I ship you the goods, but I don't trust you to pay me. I want a bank to pay me. I trust a bank, but I don't trust you. Yeah, maybe the wrong approach, but it did get a giggle from my students. So that's why you use a letter of credit. It is a conditional guarantee that a bank will pay you. So that is why companies ask for a letter of credit. And it's quite amusing because sometimes when I'm visiting a client and they'll say, yeah, we got a big order from whatever, we're going to ask them for a letter of credit. And I say, okay, why are you asking for a letter of credit? I said, you always ask for a letter of credit, don't you? Everybody asks for a letter of credit. And sometimes people don't stop and think why they are asking for the letter of credit. As we all know now, it's because a bank guarantees under certain conditions that they will pay you. So that's why we're going to go into a letter of credit. Okay, I've been banging on a bit now about letters of credit, and I'm sure some of you are still none the wiser about letters of credit. So we're going to look at different types of letters of credit. And as I say, this is a short video. It doesn't go into the ins and outs of letters of credit. It's a broad stroke video for those of you who are very unfamiliar with letters of credit and want the bare bones of the letter of credit before we move on. And I will tell you at the end of this video about the course that I made up, and we have it online on letters of credit. So let's get back. Types of letters of credit. Okay, several types of letters of credit, some very ordinary, some very exotic. So let's just look at the bread and butter ones first, as we say here in England. And you have the standard letter of credit is called an irrevocable letter of credit. What's an irrevocable letter of credit? In simple terms, an irrevocable letter of credit is a letter of credit that, once established, cannot be changed, cannot be amended, cannot be tampered with by either the buyer or the seller without mutual consent. So if I, as a seller, receive a letter of credit from you, I have, from your bank to be technically correct, I have the confidence to buy in raw material, to rejig my machines maybe, because I know once I have this letter of credit in my hand, nobody can change it. Nobody can change the rules, the documents required, the latest shipping date, when it expires. Nobody can change that except you, the buyer, and me, the seller, agreeing to that change. So it's kind of, you can sleep at night. You can sleep at night and say, I've got a document that is set in concrete. Can't be changed unless we break the concrete, the buyer and I. That's irrevocable. The next type of letter of credit you could have is a confirmed letter of credit. So let's get a little cocky about the whole thing. And now we're going to have an irrevocable confirmed letter of credit. So what's a confirmed letter of credit? Okay, let me give you an example. I'm here in the UK, and you, the viewer, is in a country that is in political turmoil, militarily in turmoil, or financially in turmoil. Let me use the parlance of the day, a dodgy country, okay? And it's a good news, bad news situation. I receive from this country a request to quote for, I'll give you an example. This is true. In fact, I won't mention the dodgy country. They'd be after me. But in my career, I received a request to quote for an extension to a hospital, temporary accommodation for the nurses and doctors, and to equip various wards. Huge contract. I thought, good news, bad news. The good news is I could be earning quite a profit here. The bad news is that country is at war right now, literally at war with itself, a civil war going on. A bank in that country is going to guarantee payment, as I mentioned in the definition of a letter of credit. So you have to think, come on, is this bank functioning? Is the money there? Has the president stuffed his pockets with the money and did a runner over to Switzerland or something? So you think, well, I don't think so. I don't think so. But I tell you what I will do. I'll ask for an irrevocable, for the reasons I gave you, confirmed by my bank, Bank X, in London, UK. So a confirmed letter of credit in reality is where a second bank, other than the paying bank, the First Bank of Toy Town, they say, fear not, Alan, we will pay you and we will take on the liability of getting the money back from the First Bank of Toy Town, if you're still with me, okay? So it's confirmed by a second bank. So it takes the worry away from me that, will this original bank pay me? Well, they might be an honorable bank, but will political circumstances in their country stop me from being paid? Trust me, it's a very, although I make light of call it the first bank of Toy Town, but it does happen, and I've been kind of not victim, but I've experienced this, where a particular country, the powers to be are very upset because the UK government is against them and blah, 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 blah. And a dictate goes out to the central bank. Do not pay any letters of credit from openers, not from openers, but from sellers in England. Happens. Okay, let me not digress too much. I'm sure you got the picture. So a confirmed letter of credit is a letter of credit where a bank other than the paying bank takes on the responsibility to pay me. Normally, your own bank. Now, that's good news, good news, good news. Here's the bad news, and I'm sure some of you are thinking it already. Is Alan's bank so stupid that they would pay him and try and get the money back from the original bank? Banks aren't stupid. They're not going to do that. Of course not. So if you ask for a confirmed letter of credit, it doesn't mean you're going to get it. So the very first thing you would do is go to your local bank, go to your bank and say, hey, I'm dealing with country X. As we all know, the banking system there is a bit dodgy, blah, 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 blah. Would you confirm it? And they might, when they pick themselves up off the floor from laughing, they might say, no, we wouldn't. And then they might say, yeah. And our confirmation fee is 4% of the letter of credit value or 12%, depending on their exposure to that. So that's confirmed letter of credit. Okay. The next letter of credit we're going to come from, the last letter of credit we're going to come from with an explanation is, my favorite, my real favorite, is a transferable letter of credit. Now, a transferable letter of credit is, well, let me explain. Many years ago, I was at the airport, and as we all do, we're looking in those shops and at the book rack. And here on the book rack, there is a book. And it said, How to Make Money Without Having Money. And I thought, this is me. I've really got to get this book. I can barely afford my airfare here, so I better get the book. But I flicked through the pages and I couldn't see anything about how to make money without having money. And then I came to chapter whatever it was, and it said transferable letters of credit. And that was the whole book. The other 20 chapters or whatever they were was just waffle. And then one chapter described a transferable letter of credit. So I'm going to tell you what a transferable letter of credit is, or how to make money without having money. A transferable letter of credit is a godsend straight from God on high to middlemen. I'm a middleman. I'm a procurement agent. I have a request from a company to supply capital equipment or to quote them for capital equipment for £500,000. Now think about it. I have to buy that capital equipment and sell it to them. I don't have the money. I can't buy it. I don't have the money. So here's a big deal for £500,000 with a good profit margin on it, just floating out the window because I have no capital. I can't go to the bank. The same, okay? Then, bing, I can do it. I can ask these people for an irrevocable. We don't need a confirmation. It's the banking system is AAA in that country. It's rated AAA top. So I don't need a confirmed letter. And asking for a transferable letter of credit. This is where you make money without having money, as the book said. And basically what it is I get the letter of credit and I can transfer portion of that letter of credit, that bit, on to the supplier. So I can say to my bank, transfer that bit. I think this is very dramatic, by the way. Transfer that bit out of the whole letter of credit. Take that bit off and transfer it. So my bank sets up a letter of credit on the supplier's bank. The supplier's bank is delighted they've got a letter of credit. Okay? Transferable letter of credit. Now, not there for the asking. I never said this in the book. Not there for the asking. But I found in my career that if I asked for a transferable letter of credit, I always got it. For the simple reason that my prices were very good, and the company that was buying the equipment from me wanted to buy it from me because they trusted me, they knew me. And they could have said to me, no, we're not giving you a transferable letter of credit. But they did to facilitate me in order I can facilitate them. And the biggest project I ever did on a transferable letter of credit was a sports stadium, would you believe? No, a leisure center rather than a sports stadium. A leisure center where we all have them. You go in, some of them are private, some of them are run by your local council. You go in, there's a swimming pool, there's a gym, there's squash courts, there's a cafe where you can hang out, blah, 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 a local leisure center. And we were asked for, it was a turnkey project. In other words, we put the key in the door and hand my principal the key and say, there's your project, turnkey project. Way beyond our financial capabilities, way beyond our financial capabilities. But we asked for a transferable letter of credit, and we got it. And from memory, I transferred that letter of credit about 12 times to 12 suppliers because we hadn't the money for that. So that is how I got the contract and fulfilled a contract way beyond my financial capability and my technical capability, I might add as well. Obviously, I had engineers, etc., in on this. Way beyond my financial capability because I asked for a transferable letter of credit and I got it. Okay, so what we've looked at is we've looked at a irrevocable letter of credit, a confirmed letter of credit, and a transferable letter of credit. To whet your appetite, you can have a red clause letter of credit, a standby letter of credit. There's all little exotic guys out there, but your standard ones that your average trader works on is irrevocable, confirmed, and transferable. And there is a revocable as well, which is the exact opposite to an irrevocable. It can be cancelled or amended by one party without consulting with the other party. So the buyer can contact the seller and say to them, buy, I'm cancelling the letter of credit. So it has its limitations, usually intercompany. Okay, so now they're the three types of letters of credit. I'm going to finish off this video with the rules of the game. UCP600, the rules of the game. So I just say to you this: do not play the game unless you know the rules. That's kind of obvious, isn't it? I know nothing about ice hockey. So I wouldn't get out there and go, I know nothing about the rules of icing, etc., etc. Okay, so you don't play the game. Lots of people out there, including myself, don't understand the rules of cricket. So I wouldn't become an umpire for a cricket match because I don't know the rules. Never, viewer, never start trading under a letter of credit if you don't know the rules of UCP 600. Now, UCP 600 is a complete subject on its own. But let me give you some horrific UK statistics. About 50% of letters of credit received by sellers in the UK are unworkable. Okay, that's one. About 70% of all letters of credit presented to the bank, in other words, the documents presented to the bank for payment, are rejected on first presentation. What? You're screaming and shouting, I want a letter of credit from you because I know the bank will pay me. And you get your letter of credit. It could be irrevocable, confirmed, transferable. And you go down to the bank, and the bank looks at the paper, or the bits of paper you've given them, and they go, obviously you never heard of UCP 600. Fail. And if you have time, within that time frame, take the documents back from the bank, try and correct them if you can, if it's not against the law, try to correct them, bring them back into the bank again. Why? Most cases, and this is just, I'm talking from a UK perspective, most cases is lack of knowledge of UCP 600. I give you the schoolboy howler on UCP 600, Article 18C. If any of you have a UCP 600 while you're watching this video, go to Article 18C. And it says, this is my paraphrasing that article, it's not verbatim. The description of the goods on the letter of credit, the description of the goods on the commercial invoice must be a cut and paste job of the description as it appears on the letter of credit. Okay? Now, if you don't have a copy of UCP 600 and you never heard of Article 18C in your life, let's say on the letter of credit it says the figure 2 off-road dump trucks. The figure 2 off-road dump trucks. And on your invoice you put TWO, you spell it out, 2 off-road dump truck, not the plural, truck, okay? The bank won't pay you. Really? Yeah, the bank won't pay you. It's nitty gritty. And the bank will say to you, I'm sorry, Mr. Bracken, we can't pay you. Your documents, and they use the expression non-compliant. Well, you might have time to change it, but the initial presentation, you're not being paid. Non-compliant, and they will say, because of Article 18C. Now, not only do they say that to you, but they add insult to injury, and they charge you for them telling you that you've blown it. So every discrepancy, they charge you. They charge you a sum of money. Come on. Now, that's in the UK. I've presented letters of credit in many European countries. I've presented letters of credit, I'm just trying to think out loud here, in Nigeria. Anyway, without boring you, I've presented letters of credit for payment on behalf of clients, let's say worldwide. It's all the same. It's all the same. Companies do not read UCP 600. So my parting shot to you, viewer, is this. If you are serious about trading under a letter of credit, documentary letter of credit to give it its full handle, the first thing you do is you go online and you buy a second-hand copy or a brand new copy of UCP 600. If you go around the internet, sometimes you can pick up a copy free. You just click on and there you go, you've got UCP 600. But so that's your first stop. I'm going to trade under letters of credit in the future. Better get the rules of the game. Better learn the rules of the game. So that's your first stop. Okay, I'm going to finish off here. I'd like to go on because it's my favorite subject, believe it or not, letters of credit. And I will remind you that at abtslogistics.co.uk, as you can see on your screen, we offer you a comprehensive course on letters of credit. It's a very good course. I devised it myself, so I'm not going to say it's a rotten course. It's a very good course, and it's my last 35 years experience in letters of credit. And I put them together in a course. So any of you interested in pursuing letters of credit as a method of payment, welcome. I welcome you to our course. You can join anytime you want to, and we go into great detail. We go into massive detail. That's it. I hope I whetted your appetite for letters of credit, wonderful instruments of payment. And I hope I've kind of given you an overview of what the heck they are. I don't go too academic. I like to keep things on an ordinary level without going into an academic approach to letters of credit. Just the way I deliver them, I suppose. So that's it. See you around, and welcome on our letter of credit course if you wish to pursue this further. Take care now, everybody. Bye.